What you do for Christmas?
Oh, I don't know because we're recording this before Christmas,
We are.
giving away all of
Hopefully,
our trade secrets.
yeah. Hopefully, you had a very good time. Hopefully, I
Yes.
had a very good time. Hopefully, right about now, I am on a camping trip and I am not broken down in a mountain range somewhere on my way to an area I've never been before. And for the first time without any backup power supply.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we'll kind of talk about that in a little bit being future episode. And hopefully if I come back from this trip that I'm on right now, that I'm not on right now, uh, that means I survived without additional
There you
power.
go.
Yeah. So, all right. Because we're recording a little bit ahead of time, a lot of what we're going to talk about is uh
About a week old.
yeah, well, it's timely, but may have been
Developing,
may have developed a little bit more. So
possibly.
don't blame me. Who am I? I'm Phil Royle. I am one of the podcast co-hosts, co-founders, co-creators, co-seat warmer here. And at thewhatcar.com/podcast, thewhatcar.com/nothing, and also thewhatcar.com/store, where you can purchase a t-shirt. You want to know what the t-shirts look like? Today, I am wearing one of our fancy shirts, and you can see it at
Hello.
you can see it at yeah, the YouTube com slash at the what car, and you'll see little nice polo. It's an Adidas brand, really nice, got the logo. These are our official staff shirts, and we will sell one to you. You can go there and pretend like you're part of the
Official
staff.
staff.
Yeah, why not? Hey, you could become part of the official staff.
Yeah.
If you want to work for free, go for it.
Ed Sanchez, likewise, 20 plus years in automotive content creation and moderation. Current day job, automotive electronics industry analyst.
An automotive?
Automotive. I work for a Canadian company. What can I say? Um, and the Watt Car co-founder and contributor.
And hopefully somebody who's really well educated on this episode. Because I have breezed through a lot of this. Well, as par for the course for me.
Well, again, a lot of these, as you kind of alluded to, are kind of, I'd say, fluid situations. Developing is another term you could use. So within the past couple weeks, this has been rumored for a few weeks, but it's getting to the point where it's not, it's kind of an open secret now. Um,
This
so
is more than a promise ring, or is this still a promise ring? Because they have the like two companies. There's two companies that are talking. And when
yeah,
companies talk, they have what I've referred to as a promise ring, where
which is a
they,
memorandum of understanding,
yes,
or is that just the flirting stage?
it's it's beyond the flirting stage, but it's where they're actually like they'll announce that they're talking, but they won't actually. They'll announce that they're going to talk,
We're not
basically.
official.
And this is Honda and Nissan,
Yeah.
and there's a possible merger. But as far as I can tell, it's sources say on everything.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not a promise ring. It's not a we've agreed to talk. There's so many levels on all of
Yeah.
this. And this is a rumor, but it's a rumor that's kept, you're saying it's kept swirling and now it's swirling faster and
And
faster.
it's getting more intense and more kind of more pieces coming together. So they I guess announced a few months ago, I can't remember exactly, I want to say like September, October, about teaming up together to kind of co-develop EV technologies. But it was just it wasn't like an official tie-up or merger. It was like, hey, let's talk and work together and blah blah blah.
And both of them are way behind, which is
Yeah.
bizarre because Nissan was way ahead.
Yeah. And then they
And
kind of gave up and were like, eh. Anyway, so the I think the crux of the matter is this the last 12 to 14 months is the timeline I keep seeing pop up. But Nissan has not been doing well lately. Their sales are way down. Um, this is kind of a larger discussion, but I would say their image is not what it used to be. Um, they're kind of perceived of as kind of a value brand by a lot of customers. Um, and so they're just kind of hurting and they're financially not doing great. So they're going to need some help of some sort or another. And I guess Honda's kind of like, hey, let's talk. Um,
I
so
it's
yeah.
weird. Nissan is I was just pulled up
Yeah.
nissanusa.com to
Hmm.
see if my memory was bad, and they really just don't have much.
No, no.
That said,
Hmm.
they have the Aria,
Hmm.
and
Pretty
they
nice, pretty
and,
competitive. Yeah.
and it's sharp looking. I
Yeah.
haven't heard too many bad things about it. I haven't driven
Hmm.
one, but I mean, I've seen a number of them. They're fine. In fact,
Hmm.
in is it black? I saw one and I thought it
Hmm.
was a Mercedes. Like
Hmm.
they can be pretty sharp if you choose the right
Hmm.
colors.
Hmm.
They make that themselves, don't they?
Hmm. Yeah, that's an in-house car.
So
Yeah.
Nissan, that is kind of falling,
Yeah.
has more EV chops, at least in America,
Than
than
Honda.
Honda.
Hmm.
Honda is a Titan. And
Globally, yeah.
so I view this as, well, what can Nissan bring to the table? It's really weird. You've got the gorilla of
Hmm.
Honda, and then
Hmm.
you've got this little mouse of Nissan, but the
Yeah.
mouse actually has more to offer
Yeah.
into the future
For
than
EVs.
Honda does. And Honda is put right now, it's EV. Like you could say, okay, well, they've got the Prologue. The Prologue looks great, drives great, everything's great on it.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
GM.
rebadged Blazer. Yeah.
And okay, so the TV controls, whatever. Why am
Hmm.
I blanking on that? The GUI, the
Info
interface, all that.
infotainment. Yeah.
That I believe is designed by Honda, and that's
Hmm.
why you can get certain things if you want like CarPlay or
CarPlay,
something.
among
Then you
other
buy,
things.
yeah, you buy the
Yeah.
Honda, you don't buy the GM, things like that. So Honda's done the software,
Hmm.
but the actual car is a General Motors vehicle.
Hmm.
So it's really weird that you'd look at it and go, well, what is Honda's just gonna? They'd swallow up Nissan. Nissan's nothing,
Hmm.
but Nissan's potentially the future. If they merged, Nissan could
Yeah.
potentially be the future of EV, and they could help Honda actually survive a transition.
Yeah. I think Honda, past beyond the Prologue, has kind of put their EV efforts in overdrive. We'll get to that a little later in this episode, but I think Honda's uh, they're kind of seeing the writing on the wall more than I'd say a lot of Japanese OEMs. There's one in particular that I think is kind of in denial about EVs, who will remain nameless, but if you listen long enough, I think you know who we're talking about. But um, so anyway, if they were to merge, it would become the world's number three auto OEM by sales. Estimated would create a $54 billion company in sales. Supposedly Mitsubishi is also, because I effectively consider Mitsubishi already kind of a division of Nissan, effectively. So I think they're talking about including that in the group. Um, so
And we'll
one,
throw in Mitsubishi.
yeah, exactly. Now, interestingly, Mitsubishi does have the Outlander PHEV that they've had for a few years, and is actually fairly competitive on paper. Um,
That I
yeah.
have driven, not I think the current one. I think they've changed the
Hmm.
generation. That thing was so
Hmm.
confusing to me. It was fine,
Yeah.
but it was
It was one of the
so
few PHEVs with I think at the time the earlier ones were still CHAdeMO, but one of the few PHEVs with DC fast charging,
yeah.
which is relatively rare for that segment. But anyway, um, so one of the interesting little tidbits I kind of dug up in doing research for this is supposedly Nissan at one point was approached by Foxconn,
Really?
the contract manufacturer for the iPhone, among other things.
Well, which
Um,
sounds weird in that
mhm.
context, but Foxconn also now owns the Lordstown plant for
Yeah,
manufacturing
yeah,
EVs. So now it makes a little bit more sense. They bought out, did they buy Lordstown, the EV company, or did they just buy the plant? They just bought the plant. And then there was an
yeah.
agreement that they would make the Lordstown truck. And then Lordstown, the EV company, went out of business. But Lordstown, the manufacturing plant, as far as I'm aware,
It's still
is
owned by Foxconn.
still
Yeah.
owned by Foxconn.
So
Which
and
is why you
and
never name your company after the facility that you've
yeah.
got.
So supposedly Nissan kind of said, take a hike. I mean, they were like at the time, I guess they weren't in as dire financial straits. So they were like,
So
no,
Foxconn approached
Nissan
Nissan,
said no.
hmm,
Um,
which makes sense.
yeah, and you know, not to get too controversial here, but there is the whole kind of cultural kind of pride thing of Foxconn being a Taiwanese company, Nissan being Japanese. Uh, Japanese companies, at least in my experience, tend to be a little more insular and like wanting to work with their own. I mean, I'm not making any judgments about that. It's just an observation. But anyway, also Renault has said nothing about any of this.
I think
Because they're
Nissan and Honda have said nothing about this as well.
well, they've basically kind of said we're in talks, but officially they're only in talks for a JV about EV technology. So in terms of a full-fledged merger, officially they're not acknowledging that. But
Would it be allowed?
uh, in Japan or here or wherever.
I mean, so these things are complicated.
Hmm.
So you have like the mothership in Japan,
Hmm.
and then you've got a separate mothership that is a completely separate legal entity in America,
Hmm.
and then another one that's in Europe.
Europe and
So a merger is not like, oh, well, we just merge. I
hmm.
don't know what a merger entails, but I
Oh,
know that there
it's
is
a
a
huge
lot
undertaking.
of
Yeah.
for things like this,
Yeah.
and a multinational corporation.
Hmm.
This is not easy. So you could have it where the EU says no, America says yes, Japan has undecided,
Hmm.
and I don't know what happens. Who knows at that
Depending,
point? I think in America this
yeah.
could happen under the new
Hmm.
the incoming president.
Administration.
Yeah.
They'd probably say, sure, fine,
Yeah.
whatever. Um, Supposedly one of the obstacles in Japan is they're already a little nervous about the competition from Chinese brands, and there's kind of almost this existential concern about Japan's industrial base and economy, and so they're trying to preserve jobs as much as possible. But a merger of this magnitude would almost inevitably result in plant closings, consolidations, um, overlapping vehicle models, some being phased out
But if it
um,
strengthens their country
as
as
a
a
whole. Yeah,
whole, I could see then you go, well, okay, so you instead of losing an arm, let's lose a finger. That's
yeah.
a
I
horrible
mean
analogy.
that's one way to look at it. But frankly, and this is in somewhat of a different context. But and I think I wrote about it. I'll have to dig up the post I did. I guess Akio Toyoda was the chairman of like the Japanese Auto Manufacturers Association or something. And I don't know if this was after he was being like pestered by a reporter or journalist, and he finally said, "Look,
He
this is
just
why."
snapped.
He just said, "Look, I'm just going to be honest with you. This is why." But really, the root of his concern of kind of Toyota being somewhat anti EV is his fear that it would. He cited the figure of I think 6 million jobs. He said if Japan just like overnight, and granted, this is a hypothetical situation because it wouldn't be this drastic, but if Japan went overnight from ICE to full EVs, that would wipe out 6 million jobs from the Japanese economy. So and already China is so far ahead in certain areas and
Hmm.
certain technologies that the reason some say some of the one of the reasons Toyota's kind of slow walking the move to electrification is preservation of jobs. So
And it's not something
yeah,
to poo-poo.
no,
So there's everything's really complicated. You want to save the planet because saving
yeah,
the planet ultimately will save billions of lives, you could say, whatever you
yeah.
want to say. But in order to save those billions of lives, are you going to destroy the working class in the process? Any transition is difficult.
Yeah,
And this transition, you're going from how many parts are in an engine? I mean, it's like thousands, isn't it?
two probably like 2 or 3 thousand depending
Yeah.
on the engine.
And
Yeah,
you're going from that to a steel tube with some copper wiring inside
basically.
and some batteries that are mined, in Australia.
Yeah.
Like it's the where you're getting things from is very different. How
Hmm.
many things you're getting, the type of work. You can do the transition, but it's not like you can't just say, okay, well, we're going to do this tomorrow. This is why big companies are kind of struggling.
Hmm.
Uh, and
with
don't
the transition.
necessarily
Yeah.
want to do the transition because
Hmm.
you'd end up firing a bunch of people and then you can't go back and you close
Yeah.
plants and you can't, there's,
Yeah. It's tough. It's
I'm
a tough
glad I just do a
situation. So,
podcast.
yeah. So, yeah, we're just here
Transitioning
eating our
this,
popcorn while
yeah,
the
no,
world's burning, you know?
transitioning a podcast into audio from audio to audio and video is hard enough.
Yeah.
I do not want to be the one making the
Anyway.
decisions in this. So another company that's trying to change
Yeah. They've
over,
also been kind of had some struggles lately.
and we've been talking about them a lot
Mhm.
because so this is Stellantis,
Yeah.
where Carlos Tavares is been
Out of work.
yeah, he's on the unemployment line,
Yeah.
and we don't know who's running it yet because nobody's told us as far as Stellantis Internacional
Mhm.
uh, that right now I guess they're just a headless organization
Well, I mean,
progressing, and in the process the
yeah.
rats are running around reorganizing deck chairs trying to figure out like we got to get right now it's mayhem. Everybody's going to make any changes that they want as soon as they can,
Yeah.
and Ram meanwhile with
Tim
Tavares,
Kaniskus.
no,
What?
yes, Kaniskas,
Yeah.
that he's come back,
Hmm.
the savior of Dodge, has come
Yeah.
back as now to be a savior of Ram, and he said, I'm assuming this is him, Ramcharger is priority over the REV.
Yep.
The REV being battery electric,
Full battery electric. Yeah.
Ram pickup, Ramcharger being plug-in hybrid
Essentially.
Ram pickup.
Range extended electric or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, so it's a giant battery
Yeah.
with an engine, and the engine is not connected to the tires.
It's just a generator.
It's a generator. So
Yeah.
he's saying prioritize that.
Yeah. So so basically one of the first things he did in his new role is he's like, let's fast track the Ramcharger. Rev will introduce a year later, which frankly is probably what they should have done in the first place, but they didn't. So, but anyway, so that's happening there, which I think is strategically, I think is the right move, because I think especially in the more utilitarian segment, there's those customers really care about capability, and they don't really want to compromise. So from a real world use scenario, I actually think the Ramcharger is more practical than the Rev for a lot of applications.
I was
So
trying to remember the
yeah.
Ramcharger specs. And so I've quickly looked it up,
Hmm.
and it is 14,000 pound tow rating. Tell me if
Hmm.
you've heard that before, because I think that
Hmm.
was what the Cybertruck was supposed to be.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
145 miles, all electric range.
Hmm.
And then I've now lost the number. Oh, 690 miles combined driving
Hmm.
range. So this is a
So it's got a big,
powerhouse.
big battery and a big fuel tank. Battery is, I want to say like 91 or 92 kilowatt hours. Plus, I think it's got some like a 30 or 36 gallon fuel tank. So
And then 2,600, 2625 pound payload.
payload, yeah.
This is a half-ton pickup.
Half ton, yeah. Even though it's got 8 leg wheels, but
Oh,
it's a
yeah,
different
they have
discussion.
to. This is insane. Like
Oh,
I
it's a workhorse, yeah.
70.8 kilowatt hour battery. Now this is an article that I'm looking at right now from November 23. So things may have changed.
70 point, I could have sworn it was 90 something.
Yeah, I mean this
Yeah.
I just did the Google and out
That's
popped
what
this.
popped up.
So it's no matter how you slice it, it's a
Mhm.
big battery.
Mhm.
I don't see it's a V6.
Yeah, it's basically the Pentastar, but it's like been reconfigured specifically for like generator duty.
Is this the wrong move? No, you already said it's the right move.
No, I think this is the right way to go. That's what
Down
they
with
should have done in the
EVs,
first
up with
place.
plug-in hybrids.
For certain use cases. Just
I as I said at the beginning, I go camping. I've got a
Mhm.
3/4 ton Ford pickup, and I pull a 6,000 plus pound trailer over mountain ranges. And I look at all of these electric trucks, and with many of my trips, just out of curiosity, I
Mhm.
pull up a better route planner and I,
Mhm.
search. And like my last trip that I did out to Death Valley, that you could do I searched for it for like a long range lightning and a standard, and you can do
Mhm.
it with either.
Mhm.
But both required driving 70 miles out of the way, deadheading a charge,
Mhm.
which is not the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Like, it's just not. So I look at this and go, Man, when I drove
Hmm.
the Ford Power Boost hybrid,
Hmm.
I could drive it slow enough where I kept it on all electric, and I could actually go to the store
Hmm.
all electric and back all electric. And I finished that test, and I said to you, they need a plug-in of this.
Hmm.
Like this is the
Yeah.
stuff right here. I could
Hmm.
drive across the country, which I did in that. You could tow with it. You could
Hmm.
go to the store in electric. You never have to worry about anything.
And you said highway, you got like 22 or 23?
Oh, I got 25 to 27 on the highway.
Wow. For a full-size truck, that's darn good.
It blew me away. I
Yeah.
mean, I get 14 not towing my 3/4 ton.
And
So
that's driving it with an egg on the pedal.
yeah, yeah. That's and then if I as soon as I start towing, I'm getting 7 to 8 miles a
Yeah.
gallon. Like it just destroys your fuel economy and your efficiency if you're doing it with an
Hmm.
EV. An EV, the pickup truck is about you get about 2 miles per kilowatt unladen, and you get
Hmm.
about one towing.
Hmm. Yeah.
A little bit more. I've noticed the newer ones are getting a little bit more efficient. So you might get 1.2
Yeah.
miles per kilowatt hour. You're not getting much.
So still with Stellantis, but kind of changing gears a little bit. So I think they're also with the Charger, they're trying to fast track the Hurricane, the ICE model, but they're
They've been
still kind of
listening to this podcast,
yeah.
bizarrely, where you, EV enthusiast and Model 3 driver, have been telling Dodge, forget EV, launch the Hurricane, the what is it, 3-liter V6 turbo?
Straight six, yeah.
Straight six turbo. Ooh, even better.
Yeah.
And so
Um,
they are.
so they are, but the things are so far along the line with kind of product planning and cadence and everything that basically the Charger Daytona EV is here, and the
Oops.
factory's starting to crank them out, so they have them, and they're facing kind of, by and large, I'd say a not so happy customer base who feels kind of betrayed and abandoned with the cancellation of the Hemi, and they're trying to foist this, this glorified golf cart on them, and they're just not having it. But they have a plan. So
Ooh, plans are
this is
good.
from Inside EVs. So they're planning kind of like a publicity tour around the country. So they're going to be at a bunch of events. They're going to take it to a bunch of dealerships, give like demo rides to the sales staff, try to get them pumped up about it. Um, and kind of sneaky, if you take in a car for service, like I don't know, Charger, Challenger, whatever, for a loaner while your car is being serviced, they plan on giving these out as kind of teasers, like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" To maybe try to convince customers, specifically for 96-hour loaners. So that's what, for 3 days, 4 days. Um, and
I think that's a
yeah,
winning thing. I mean, my friend that accidentally bought
hmm,
an EV where she went in for an oil
hmm,
change and she walked out with a new EV.
yeah,
I don't know the entire experience that she had, but I'm guessing that that's a similar
hmm,
thing. I'm guessing they either handed her an EV while she
hmm,
was getting her oil changed, or
hmm,
they said, "Hey, come and drive this car while you're getting
hmm,
your oil changed."
hmm,
It will have been her butt in a seat of an
hmm,
EV.
yeah,
So I think this is a
yeah. And
very
I've been
solid
saying
plan.
for I don't know if I'd say years, but for quite a while, butts and seats is what it's going to take,
It's the
because
only way. It's the
people,
only way you can show people they
yeah,
don't know what they don't know.
yeah, they hear the FUD, they hear the Fox News reports and all the sensationalistic EVs suck. They blow up on the side of the freeway.
You get
They're
exhausted
slow.
of the
Yeah,
news. You just get tired of it. Even if you
yeah,
are not far right, if you are like a regular person, you're not far
hmm,
left tree hugger, you're not far right anti-EV, you're still sick of
hmm,
all the messaging with
hmm,
this. So to sit in it is the only time you get.
yeah. So I think this is the right way to go. I mean, if they're going to create any kind of enthusiasm for this, they're going to have to get butts and seats, have people experience it. I have a feeling once people drive it and experience it, they might get some converts. They might say, "Yeah, this thing's pretty cool. It's really quick. Um, it's nothing like I thought it was."
The
So,
the problem is, and this is what
mhm,
they're trying to do with their Fretsonic exhaust on the EVs, is Dodge with these cars, it's always been about the sound and the
mhm,
grumble. It's
mhm,
always been about that. So you got all these Model 3 owners and Model S owners and like, oh, it's so quiet. And then I was
mhm,
reading a review of somebody that they got rid of their Model Y, I think,
mhm,
and they got a Silverado EV. and their review, they've been a Tesla fan, the whole time. And their review of the Silverado EV was Tesla's got a lot to learn about sound deadening, that GM is doing this right. So they want it quiet. Dodge owners, I don't think they want it quiet. I think they want to hear the car. So that's going to be the only holdup I can see. Outside of that, I think this is the way to go. Acceleration, everything. I think this is perfect for him. Uh-oh. Power just went out. Let's see here. Can Ed come back online? That's funny. Let's see if he can come back. Go for it. So let's see. I'm texting Ed right now, and we will see if he can come back online with his powered up router. And voila! Ed is back.
So this is apropos to our upcoming episode
So
about
Ed
battery packs, because I'm running on one right now.
how long do you have?
Oh, I don't know, a couple hours.
Okay.
Hopefully the rest of this podcast won't go that long.
Well, I've got 15 minutes. So.
Oh, okay. So we'll double down on there.
All right. So we left off. I covered a little bit.
Charger, butts and seats.
They're going to the Mecum and Barrett Jackson auction and roadkill nights and letting people drive the cars. On to the Fiat 500e.
Such a deal.
Such a deal.
You can
And
get one for nothing.
Yeah, essentially.
Basically.
So this, I clicked on this and was like, I wonder what this is. They are, remember back with the original 500e?
Mm-hmm.
And you could get them for next to nothing. Like those and the Honda Fits, they were handing them out with like, you get a box of Cracker Jack, and then it came with a Fiat and a Honda Fit EV. Well, now a Colorado dealer, so I guess it's just one dealer that's doing this with incentives, but I don't know why others couldn't. And I would have thought this is backed by.
I guess this one was clever enough to kind of put the pieces together and put the deal together.
They are doing a 27-month lease on a 500e for $0 down and $0 a month. Which, how did they do that, you might ask? And the answer is it's not actually zero.
Yeah.
You've got about $1,300 in taxes and other fees that go through. And then I guess the dealer must take all the incentives. And then they give
That's
you
how leases work, yeah.
They give you a buyout at the end, and your buyout is like $17,000 if you want it. Or you could presumably return it. You get 10,000 miles a year with the vehicle. So it's like a low mileage lease that you get. These, what do they have? I want to say 160 mile range, 140 mile range, something like that. They're not.
The newer ones are a little longer, but about that, yeah.
So I looked at this and was like, all their incentives, because they're federal and then their state incentives in Colorado, and none of them seemed out of line with what California offers. I wondered if these are going to come to California too.
Good.
So this article on electric, they did the math, and it worked out to be $63 a month. By the time you're what is it, $400 disposal fee and whatever. By the time you're done, it's $63 a month for an EV lease for 3 years plus insurance. But I'd consider
it's a deal. Now, I did see, if you read the fine print, I guess this does have a mileage limitation of, I think, 10,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
But
it's got the 10,000 miles, and then it's like a nickel every mile afterward. Plus, they own your firstborn child, and you sold your soul to the devil. But outside of those, the fine print is not that bad. This, I wonder if, because when I looked at the Colorado things in this article, I didn't see anything different from what they offer in
California.
So I imagine California and a couple other states, this might happen there too. If other dealers see this and they're like, let's just move the cars. Let's get them off the lot, especially if they're not selling. And even if
dealer
you
trade, send them all to Colorado and California.
Yeah. It seemed like a really good idea. I don't know why they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. So we'll see. So if you think they're cool and cute and whatever, and you want one, you can get them cheap.
I've got a little runabout car, and this would be perfect for my little runabout, my little junker runabout. It'd be fine.
I think my power's back on, but let's just keep going with the battery.
Keep rolling, keep rolling.
Keep
Well,
rolling.
your power can't go out when you're on a battery bank
Yes.
power
Until you run out.
until you run out. But we shall progress. All right, Honda to show a crossover variant of its zero season series or O
Zero
series.
series. Oh, zero. I don't know.
So I don't know if I cut this out in the podcast. I may have. I kept talking while you were gone, and I
You're
looked
like,
at the
hello,
pictures.
hello.
Yeah, no, you were the most still that you've ever been. But while you were rebooting, I kind of went through this. I'm probably going to cut all that part out of the episode. But I looked at the pictures of this because I hadn't looked at it before,
Mhm.
and they had this at CES last year.
They had the initial concept, yes.
We
So
ran an
this is the
article
yeah,
on this, so
yes.
they're redoing
They're
it.
they're going to show another variant of it. I think this time more of like a crossover SUV kind of thing, as opposed to I can't even remember what they called it, a fastback or whatever. But
Yeah,
the
it
first
looks
one
like
they
a
had basically
hatchback.
like a minivan kind of cargo van sort of thing, and
Hmm.
then a sedan-ish thing,
The sedan looks like a dirt devil.
kind of.
It's got a weird nose. It's like
Yeah,
a bit of a anteater.
yeah.
It's kind of weird. So are they? I mean, what is the deal with these? They're just futuristic concepts, and now they're showing them at
No, they're I
CES.
think they're talking about production. I think they're saying like 26 or 27. So they're getting closer to making these a real thing, evidently.
And
So
I will say what I said a year ago when we talked about these. We have, I believe, if this makes it to production
hmm
like this,
hmm
we have Tesla to thank
hmm
for this.
because of the
Or
Cybertruck.
because of the Cybertruck, bringing something weird and crazy. Now, I'm surprised with Cybertruck sales being what they are that Honda would keep going with it. But just even the idea of bringing something bizarre
hmm
to production is,
Yeah, very avant-garde. I'm sure the production model's not going to be quite as bold. It'll probably be a little more subdued and a little more
it'll look
production-y,
like
but
the car will look like a Civic and the SUV will look like a Pilot. And is that what you're
I thought
saying?
that was kind of the idea behind the prologue. But anyway, I think when
Yeah.
these finally get to market, they'll be a little more forward than the prologue. But anyway, but yeah, so I'm going to be at CES. I'll probably see him in person. I'll report back. Future episode, we'll do recap of the show, and yeah.
Yeah, that episode. I think we'll be a week behind on that because it's really
Yeah.
hard to record from the actual show,
Yeah.
and so we're gonna give you a break from that. We'll talk about something else.
All
All right.
right,
So
last
one
topic.
one last topic is Rivian with its secret deal with the UAW,
Mhm.
which I don't know. There's many things to talk about on this. Can you fill me in?
So this is a report from Bloomberg. So this is, another one of these sources say articles.
Hmm.
Um, so Sean Fain and the UAW have said, we're going to target blah, 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 Tesla, Rivian, whoever. They did successfully organize Volkswagen's Chattanooga plant. So it's the first foreign transplant they've been successful in organizing. So I guess there were meetings that happened between the UAW and Rivian, and they said, "Look, we're not profitable yet. We're not in a position to make a lot of super generous promises for future pay and benefits. Maybe someday we'll be there, but we're not there yet." So I guess the UAW agreed, said, "Okay, we're not gonna launch an organizing drive at your plants until you meet certain profitability targets. Um, but once you do, then all bets are off, and we're gonna. It's not necessarily a threat to organize, but they said, we won't have a constraint to not organize. So officially, I guess Rivian's taking what they call a quote neutral stance on labor organizing, meaning they're not going to actively discourage or antagonize it. They're going to say, we'll leave it up to the workers, whatever they want to do, we'll honor their wishes.
Heard that before.
Yeah. So
That's what
anyway,
they all say. So the interesting thing in this is Sean Fain, head of the UAW,
mhm,
is also under like a investigation right now where the feds, I guess, are
Oh,
trying to get
continuing the
his,
tradition,
yeah, continuing the tradition of UAW presidents
corruption.
corruption. I don't know if it's corruption or whatever, but they're trying to get his text messages because
Oh,
a watchdog group is now like filing charges and they're trying to get his text messages. And I guess the UAW and Sean Fain are saying, no, we're not going to give you the text messages, but it's showing like collusion or something between Sean Fain and something else. And that's what
mhm.
the watchdog group is claiming. So he will need a couple wins if he's hoping to distract people from legal issues
Yeah.
that they are now facing, or he is now facing.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. We'll see.
Interesting. I don't know what this brings to Rivian's table to suddenly get.
I think it just gives them a little more of a runway to kind of ramp up and become profitable before the UAW,
So basically,
hits
is
them with the right hook.
Rivian saying, "Hey, UAW, don't come to us yet. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Basically, like
don't
don't
please
come with with
don't
your
kick me right now.
pitchforks and baseball
Don't.
bats until we tell you you can.
We're
So
already down. Don't.
don't keep kicking us.
Yeah, don't. I don't want to be in your crosshairs. I guess that's a smart thing
Yeah.
to do. It's not good for the
Fair enough. Yeah.
not good for the long haul, perhaps for Rivian.
No,
Uh,
but I mean they'll it's just a matter of time until the UAW starts getting more aggressive with the startups, so to speak.
yeah,
Um, so I think it's probably good they kind of were a little more preemptive about this and said, look, let's kind of get this sorted out so we're not, just duking it out for no good reason. So
yeah. Hmm.
anyway, so a little unexpected interlude there that sets the stage well for an upcoming episode, which should be interesting.
That's hilarious. So,
You're
but
like, Ed?
your studio, yeah, no, you just like, your studio. Oh, for audio listeners, I just stood still and didn't make a noise. Your studio looks just as good on your power bank, what are they called? It's not a power bank. It's power,
Generator.
yeah, home
Or we'll get to
generator.
that. We'll get to that in this future episode because I have
Yeah.
strong opinions. But
Yeah,
no,
but it's doing the
power's
job right
power.
now. You've
So
got your computer and mic, your whole studio is being powered by a
whole
little
enchilada.
box. Yeah.
Yep.
What is powering the Walk Car? Well, t-shirt
Apparel
sales.
purchases.
I'll tell you what powers this place. It is thewalkcar.com/store. You can go there. You can purchase t-shirts. You won't get it in time for Christmas or the New Year because Christmas is gone and the New Year's like a week away and whatever. But you could get it for Valentine's. It makes fantastic Valentine's Day gifts. So thewalkcar.com/store. Get a t-shirt, get a hat, get a water bottle. Uh, Email us at hello@thewalker.com if you'd like to see some other stuff on there. I periodically check that email address. Mostly I check our YouTube comments, youtube.com/@thewalkcar. You can subscribe to us there. You can also follow us at the audio version of the podcast on any podcast player. If that podcast player allows some kind of reviews, then I highly suggest that you give us a review. That would be super nice for you to do. And what would else be super nice is for the UAW to go to the walkcar.com/advertise and come on the podcast and tell us the whole skinny with Rivian. That'd be super nice. Tell
Yes.
us how things
Give
are
us your whole
working.
future strategy.
Yeah. And why Sean Fain is not turning over the email, the text messages
Text
to,
messages. Oh, I'm sure they'll get right on that.
yeah. Outside of that, next week, I don't remember anymore. We've got some special episodes, like we were saying. Some of them might involve power outage conversations, and those do tie into electric vehicles, believe it or
Yes.
not. So hopefully, Ed, you survive the great power outage of 2024,
2024.
and you're good to go.
All right. See you next time.